Okay, this is the Ordination Program Interview Training 2014, and I welcome our interview panel team for 2014. This training is not only to help those that have participated as interviewers in the past, but also to help those that have not participated as an interviewer in the past. This is just to give them some direction and help each of you with the process of the interview. Okay, what we're going to go over real quickly, we're going to go over why the interview. We're also going to look at what do I do during the interview. Also, we're going to look at what do I do after the interview. And then we'll look at some interview files, and then just a reminder to pray for the candidates and pray for yourself as the relationship to discernment and things like that. Okay, next. The overview. The pre-enrollment interview is meant to determine the candidate's readiness for ordination and the degree to which the candidate understands the following. So this is what you want to look for. You want to make sure that the candidates understand some of the things we're going to go over now. One, we want them to understand that ordination is the recognition that an individual has received from God specific spiritual gifts that are related to church leadership and is authorized to use them in the appropriate ministry. The next thing we want them to understand is to recognize that as believers, we are all called to do the work of the ministry. Ordination is not a prerequisite for participation in meaningful ministry. Instead, it is a public recognition and the affirmation of one's demonstrated leadership gifts. So we want to make sure that they do understand that. Next, true leadership requires godly character, dedication, sacrifice, integrity, wisdom, patience, perseverance, and much more. Not everyone desires leadership, and not everyone is called to serve in this way. All who seek to lead God's people should study 1 Timothy 3:1-7 and Titus 1:5-9. And we just want to make sure this is some of the information we'll be looking for in the application and in our conversation with the candidate. We're looking for integrity, character, perseverance, and all these things. We're looking for some of that as we go through the interview process. As leaders, those whom God ordains as apostles, prophets, pastors, evangelists, and teachers take on as a part of the requirement, the responsibility to train, mentor, model godly Christian character, and assist in bringing the body to maturity. So again, we're just looking to see that the candidate has some of these characteristics, and so you're listening for that and just looking at the application. But this is the type of information that we're looking for. Not that we're looking for anybody to be perfect. We're just trying to make sure that we're seeing that in that person. Also, we want to make sure or be clear that they understand that leadership role God has called them to. In other words, they have to know what God has called them to, and then also be able to explain the evidence in their life. In other words, they'll be able to look back and show or explain why they believe God has called them into pastor, teacher, or whatever, because maybe this is what they've been doing. They've been evangelizing already, and they've been called to evangelists. They've been out there doing something related to evangelism in some form or fashion. They may even be leading in this type of role, but they're already doing it. It should not be a case where someone comes to the interview and they have never done anything related to their gifting. As a panel member, your analysis and comments will be critical elements in the determination of the candidate's readiness for ordination. So it's real important that you provide your information in the interview form, share your comments and talk with the other members afterwards if necessary, but it's very important that you share your comments based on what you believe the Holy Spirit is telling you. Before the interview, a member of the panel will need to go and bring the candidate to the classroom that you'll be assigned to. So one of you can just walk over to the lobby because they've been told to meet us in the CVTS lobby. So they'll be sitting here waiting for you during the interviews. And they've been sent the schedule so they know what time they're supposed to be here. During the interview, the facilitator will, when I say facilitator, it can be anyone. They can break the ice and introduce the panel members to the candidate. So any one of you can go ahead and just introduce the panel members to the candidate, or if they already know each other, it's not an issue. But remember also to be pleasant and try to make the candidate feel as comfortable as possible, because in some cases they may be a little bit stressful and things like that. Okay, during the interview, panel members should alternate asking questions or a series of questions so that each interviewer has time to both listen and write. Each panel member will complete an interview questionnaire, noting the candidate's answers in the space provided on the form. You may ask relevant questions that do not appear on the questionnaire if you feel it would be helpful in making the final determination about the candidate's readiness. Please begin and end promptly. Each candidate should be allowed only 1 hour. Begin the interview by advising the candidate to keep the answers to about 3 or 4 per question and monitor the conversation to keep within this limit as much as possible. If there are any questions regarding the ordination process, refer them to me. Please resist the temptation to provide counsel or advice concerning personal issues that may be mentioned. After the interview, confidentiality is crucial. Under no circumstances should a candidate's personal information ever be used or discussed outside the process. Make comments on the form where there are areas of concern. Give completed forms. Give the completed forms to the facilitator, or you can leave them in the room, and I'll pick them up after all interviews are completed. The facilitator will return the forms to me. I'll pick up the forms essentially. Next thing, the ordination interview file. There will be 5 files, or not 5 files, but there will be a number of files that I will send you that will be part of the interview. I will send you the candidate interview form. This will be prior to the meeting, the interviews. I will send you the candidate's application and all the information that they turned in. I will also send you a ordination candidate's the schedule, which we'll look at in just a minute. And this example is from last year, but your forms will be current. I will also send you panel instructions for 2000 panel instructions for 2014, and it'll just be the same instructions that I've kind of gone over already. Okay, this is the ordination interview schedule, and currently these are all of the interviews that are scheduled for this weekend. We do have some that will be later in the week, but this is the interview schedule for Saturday, July 12th. You can see your name there listed because every interview has panels, and we try to keep either no more, or at minimum, at least 2 people on a panel. But these are the people that you'll be interviewing, and you will receive their packet. And I will provide folders for each candidate or interviewer, so you'll have that information on the candidate, and you'll be able to write on it or whatever you need to do. Okay. Remember to pray for the candidates prior to and during the interview. That's just a reminder to definitely do that, because that's real important. The last thing that I want to go over is some of the forms, just so for those that have not done this before, that they know what the forms look like. And most of you should know because you've been through the process. But the candidates will provide a recommendation. They should be providing 2 recommendation forms. They'll provide their ordination application. I know you guys have seen this before. And I will provide the ordination panel instruction that will be included in your folder. Also, I will include the interview forms. So we'll have the interview forms, and you can see that there's a number of areas where we have questions that are already written out. But as I mentioned in the earlier part of this presentation, if there are questions that you believe the Holy Spirit has led you to ask, then go ahead and ask those questions. You don't have to follow this to the T, but it may just remind you of some things that you want to ask. But I will be sending these files to you, so you'll be able to look at these a little ahead of time. But I also will have copies, so you don't have to print it off. I will make sure that I have copies for you in your folder. Okay, I think that is it. So I wanted to get this done fairly quickly, but just wanted to make sure that you were aware of how the process works. And for those that haven't been on the side of the table as an interviewer, and then to remind those that have been on the side of the table as an interview, just to remind them of the process and how it works. So if you got any questions, let me know. Again, I just encourage you to stay in prayer and pray for the candidates and pray for yourself as it relates to the discernment. And lastly, I want to thank each of you for volunteering to do this. I really appreciate this. Also, please be here by 8:30 because we want to make sure that I sign your room. Also, that so that we're on time to start for the candidates. That we'll be on time. So it's important that we're here a little bit early so the candidates won't have to wait, because they will be here at the time that they should be, hopefully. If you got any questions, let me know, but thanks again. And I'll talk to you guys on Saturday.